Okay, we're live.
All right.
Testing, testing. Today on Quality Time with Family Ties, we learn you have to go back to go to the future.
And in three, two, one. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Quality Time with Family Ties. I'm one of your hosts, Scott Jones. Joining me, as always, Mr. Paul Packler. Paul, how's it going?
I'm tired.
Me too, man. And it doesn't help that Corey's not here today.
No, everybody, Corey's gone. He said that he has been in so many episodes and that we've skipped out on so many episodes that now it's his turn to turn the knife.
It's only fair. It's only fair.
You know what? I at first I thought this episode was one that he was going to be jealous that we got to do because it's a very odd episode that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
But I think he kind of lucked out.
Oh, he definitely lucked out. He would have hated this episode.
Yeah, but there's good things in it. It's weird. It's weird.
It's just weird. It's weird to watch. Everything about this is really strange. So, Paul, you and I have been having a little conversation on Facebook today.
Yes, that's true. I've been fighting with a few people on Facebook today, but I feel like yours is the one that's pissed me off the most.
Really?
Yes.
With every political statement you make on Facebook, my Beach Boys Kokomo post has pissed you off the most?
You have it on hand, what you wrote?
I said, and I do want to interject this before I get you, but just to clear anything up. I posted this before the Senate vote today.
Yeah, you weren't being a complete jerk before you tried to break my heart.
I wasn't trying to be a total ass and make light of what was voted on today. I was just, being a smart ass. Yeah. And my statement was, let's get together as a country and agree that Kokomo is the worst Beach Boys song, which it is.
And that is it's not even factually accurate.
Which is what your response was.
Yeah, and then later I posted the actual worst Beach Boys song, which is Student Demonstration Time, which comes on the album Surf's Up and was written by Mike Love.
It's true. Although I'm going to make an argument. Kokomo is worse because not only was it written by Mike Love, it was also written by John Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas.
Oh.
Yeah.
That I wasn't sure of.
I had to check Wikipedia because I wanted a little bit of ammunition because I knew we were going to talk about this. And it was written by John Phillips. And it took like 4 people to write this goddamn song.
Yeah.
And it was not even for an album. It was requested by the people making the movie Cocktail.
Which is fine.
Yeah. It's
the best part of the movie Cocktail.
It's the only good thing to come out of Cocktail, really.
No.
Yeah. But
So that happened where you already cut me to the quick.
What do you love about that song so much?
I think it's just catchy. I just think it's a catchy, crappy song.
It is okay. I'll give you that. It is catchy because I can't say that I don't know the words of that song. I do know the words of that song because of its catchiness.
Yeah, but then another friend of yours wrote a comment where he was like, "Well, can we all just admit that Wouldn't It Be Nice is the saddest song ever?" And this is one of those instances where I'm like, I could say nothing and just everybody's happy, or I could go in and stir shit. And I was so depressed about everything else, I didn't stir the shit. But I was going to say to your friend, that's not even the saddest song on the album.
Isn't it? I would go God Only Knows is sadder.
The saddest song on Pet Sounds has to be I Just Wasn't Made for These Times.
Yo, easily, yes. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, so.
Absolutely. That is
it was just a cauldron. It was a cauldron of me like wanting to stir, and I couldn't. I was the 4th weird sister in Macbeth, and I was like, "Hey guys, invite me the next time you're gonna do some Hocus Pocus," and the other 3 are just like, "No, we're not gonna call Paul.
We just need 3 of us to cast a spell."
Yeah. So now that we've exhausted all of that, what episode are we on?
If you're playing along at home, everyone, we are in season 5, episode 28, the match.
27.
Are you sure? I double checked. I know our count is off.
Our count is off, and Bryant, cut all this out. I think Brian and Barbara counted based on what was a 2-part for My Name is Alex, and so therefore cut all this out. This is all inside baseball nonsense. But like for the count, that's why that is.
Okay, so starting over again.
Okay.
We are on season 5, episode 27, The Matchmaker. And this just gets weird.
It gets really weird, and this is where where what we learned comes from is, I looked on Wikipedia, and the first thing out of the gates that they say is that Mallory broke up with her boyfriend, Rick, with an R.
Already strange.
Everyone looks a lot younger. It turns out this episode was number 73 in the official count of, like, when you submit it to, like, the Writers Guild or director or whatever.
Yeah.
It came right around the beginning, the first 2 episodes of season 4. So, like, when Alex meets Ellen.
Okay.
That's when this was filmed. And then for some reason, and this is what's crazy, they just excised it and then put it at the tail end of season 5.
It makes no... Okay, this even pisses me off even more. Is because it's fine if you have, like, a backlog of an episode. It's like, look, we need to throw one in and we don't have to... Or whatever schedule's going on. But this, like, completely negates so much stuff that has happened that it's just a useless episode because of that.
Yes.
Mallory has been dating Nick. She is in love with Nick. We've had so many... They almost got married. And then you throw in this episode of a guy named Rick.
That we never see.
That we've never seen. And she's trying to get a date. I really, honestly, because I've missed a few this season, I was like, is there an episode where they decide to break up for a while?
It's crazy. Because, I mean, if you were watching this in real time in 1987 or whatever... what would you even think? Because it's obviously a different time, and they're talking about characters that you know, it's just so weird that a TV show could get away with such a thing.
Yeah, it's really, really strange. Like, even despite the fact of us binge watching it, even if you were an audience watching this from week to week, you would still see, like, what is going on in this episode. And the moment Jennifer walks into the room, you're just like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, she's so much younger, and there's no Andy.
There's no Andy. Yeah.
Now, the other thing that about this episode is that I think the reason they didn't put it in season 4 is because the message that Alex learns at the end about, like, opposites attract and that he likes dating on paper versus how people actually, the human interactions required, you know, the magic of a relationship.
Right.
Is all of the lessons that he learns in in the episodes, The Real Thing, the 2-part episode where he meets Ellen.
Right, absolutely.
So based on that, it's even stranger that they wrote and filmed this episode, because it's like your big season premiere is all about this. How is there a miscommunication that other people were creating a show based on the same theme, but we never see Ellen then?
Right. It's like they got some writers that weren't even in the room for 2 seasons. And hey, can you just make something up? And they came up with this, not knowing anything that has happened.
And they were like, oh crap, we can't put this because we have this girl that he just met last episode.
Right. But then I want to know where the decision is. You know what? We need another episode. Hey, bring that episode back in where they all look younger and it means nothing. Like, what the hell is happening in it, Paul?
It doesn't make any sense either way. Either the fact that they produced it or the fact that they brought it back. Either one is a dumb thing.
And this just isn't even like because this was 30 plus years ago. It's still stupid back then too.
Yeah, other shows couldn't have done this.
Would never have done this.
Now, based on all of this terrible stuff that we've been saying, actually, this episode was a breath of fresh air.
I don't know. I'm like, this is just repeated bullshit that we've kind of seen before. And it's also interesting because it shows how they were trying to make Alex a little bit nicer back in season 4 because of Ellen and everything. He's a lot nicer.
That's what I liked about it.
I'll give you that. Yeah.
Everyone was a little bit nicer, and all of the actors seemed to care a little bit more.
Yeah, you see what a dark trail they went on in season 5.
Yeah, in season 5, in the last few episodes that we've been talking about and stuff like that, you can just get the feeling everyone's a little bit tired of it now.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no, yeah, they can't find anything new that excites them in season 5.
Yeah. And so looking at this episode from just at this point almost 2 seasons ago, you see a little bit of a brightness in people's eyes and the story itself, even though it falls apart completely.
Yeah.
That I don't know, it felt, even though it came from such a cynical point in their production and stuff like that, this was
Yeah.
actually a nice little, dessert for the end of season 5.
It's like we're looking at it's like an addict. It was like, remember when you were sober and you were like this?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into. We start off in the kitchen, and this made me nice and nostalgic. Jennifer is working on a computer, a personal computer, trying to do her homework, and this is at the time when like getting a personal computer was a big choice. Like computers were now entering the home. People were learning about how to use a computer, what it meant. Basically, this is, when Steve Jobs is coming on the scene. So it was kind of cool to see that, and how Steven, they don't really establish it very well why he's just so against having a computer. You just kind of get that he's just old-fashioned.
Yeah, it's that same, dumb dad trope that you see in a lot of bad family sitcoms of whatever the new thing is, the dad is going to be the character that you're gonna be the dragging their feet.
Right, right. And we kind of see where this is going, that eventually he's going to come to be the one that loves the computer the most.
And it's a little bit weird because you would think at the office there would be computers.
Yeah, public, yeah.
I mean, maybe not necessarily because they don't, public television might not have the money of like the banks that we've seen that Alex works in where they have computers.
Right.
But I would think that Steven would have them at work, but who knows?
Right, right. Yeah, and it gets a little bit clearer as we go along, because then he just does, I don't want them playing games and stuff on it, because that was kind of like a big parental thing back then. It's like, don't get, waste your time playing video games.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest takeaway from this episode and Stephen Keaton as a character is that by like 2017 or maybe a few years even before, he would definitely be the racist dad who would send forwarded emails to Alex P. Keaton being like, I agree with your politics now. Remember when we used to be so different, and now you think I'm too right wing? Isn't that crazy, Alex? And Alex is like, Dad.
remember how much I hated computers, and now all I want to know is about her servers. What was on her email servers?
Yeah.
So Jennifer takes the computer, lugs the computer, I should say, into the living room, and Steven doesn't even want it in there. And then Mallory enters. Alex is in there. Is he getting orange juice in this scene? It looked like he was getting orange juice. I'm trying to remember.
He does. That was another nice thing, too, was that the fact that, like, when Mallory's having a bad time of it, he brings over 2 glasses and a decanter of orange juice, and I was like, it's back.
Yeah.
And he's trying to calm her down. He's trying to give her solace with the orange juice. It was old orange juice.
Oh, it was old orange juice. Yeah, and Mallory's depressed because she can't get over her boyfriend, Rick, who we've never met and don't know anything about.
I mean, if I were less lazy at this point, I would have looked to see if Rick was somehow mentioned in other episodes from back in season 3 or 4, but who cares?
Yeah, it was really strange, and I was like, the whole time I was like, I've obviously missed something. Okay, I guess her and Nick are on a break, even though I have not seen that episode.
Yeah.
And I'll give you this, Paul. Yeah, Alex genuinely wants to help Mallory. He's not trying to get money from her. He's not doing it for any advantage to him other than his personal satisfaction. But he generally offers to help Mallory find a boyfriend.
And the dumb jokes that he makes at her expense are a little bit less mean-spirited than they've become. So that was nice, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, he says he knows a bunch of eligible guys at Leland College. And Mallory, what also threw me off, Mallory says, I'm almost 17.
Yeah.
That was weird, too. I was like, she's in college. How does she... What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't understand what an audience member in 1987 would be thinking.
It was really strange. She decides to let Alex help her get a date. And the next thing is we cut to the living room. Jennifer, Alex, and Skippy's in this scene. They're all around the computer. Jennifer's kind of, or is it just Alex? Alex is just at the computer.
Yeah, Alex is at the computer, and he's asking Mallory questions in order to figure out what type of guy she would match up with.
Right. I mean, Family Ties predicted eHarmony.
Yeah, it's actually kind of surprising because back then you wouldn't have had the internet. You would have, at best, had like a floppy disk that you would have put into the hard drive, and that would have had pre-programmed questions and people in order to match up. And then I would think you would go through a list of however many people when you're doing the questions. Out of 100, it would pop up 5, and then maybe those phone numbers were there, and then you would maybe call the people in order to get in touch. But like the internet wasn't there, so there was no easy access of information.
No, and most people probably at this point wouldn't be doing that kind of service. It still was probably like videotaped service, or even like in the newspaper, like a quick write-up looking for blank, blank, and blank. And there we go.
So we are making paint so we can make new crayons.
Okay, Henry's making new crayons. He wanted you to know, Paul.
Oh, awesome.
We melt them and then we put them in the refrigerator to get hard.
They're melting them and putting them in the refrigerator. Thanks, bud. That's
What
the Henry.
What color is he making?
Henry, what color are you making?
Rainbow.
Rainbow, he said. So
That's good because then it covers all the colors.
exactly. So there you go, listeners. A Henry update for you. But but yeah, it's this service. Yeah, you could do it, but I don't even think there'd be a company that would go through all that trouble. Like, or people wouldn't go to that. Like, they just let me videotape myself.
At the end of the episode, we find out that Jennifer rented this computer from somewhere. She doesn't say where or how.
I kind of remember that being a thing.
That people would rent computers?
Yeah, if you couldn't, like, because computers were a big purchase and it still wasn't like the staple in the home. Like it was a lot of money to buy a computer, so it was an investment. But yet they were becoming so popular so fast, and schools were starting to have like little computer games and stuff like that. So there were offices and stuff where you could rent a computer and bring it home. Just like at one point, Blockbuster used to like rent out game stations, like different, like you could rent a Sega Genesis, or you could do that, you know, like it was really strange. It was something that you wouldn't think of today, but was kind of common.
That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So yeah, we find out later that, yeah, that kind of threw me back too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Alex is asking Mallory these questions to get the perfect, so Alex can match her up with the perfect guy from Leland.
And it's also interesting because of what we know of when this episode was written and produced and everything. In as much as if this was right around the real thing where Alex meets Ellen's roommate by going through the freshman directory, now he's using a computer to find people from Leland specifically. So why didn't he need the college freshman directory instead of it being on a computer?
Right, and it worked really well for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so strange. So strange.
And you know what? Now that we're talking about the age of these people, he's looking for guys from college to date his 16-year-old sister.
Yes!
That's not normal.
That's not normal, nor is it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, going along with this, and then it's like a really quick cut. Like the transition was weird. He's looking for a date. Boom. Next night, Alex is Mallory comes in. She says, Alex, you know, I was just feeling sorry for myself. You don't really have to find somebody for me. Oh no, she already said that. No, I'm sorry, because we didn't hit the point where she tells Alex not to look, and then he's already found some guys, right?
Yeah, that was a very interesting and bad writing moment where it's like, instead of just continuing on with the plot for 30 seconds, we waste it by saying, oh, don't do the plot. Don't do the plot. Don't do the plot. Okay, let's do it. So it was like, why did we do that?
Yeah, it was so strange. But then so then it's like the next night, and Mallory has a date that Alex has set her up with.
Yes. His name is Roger. He he's a relatively good-looking guy until you look at him, and then he's kind of not.
He's kind of reminds me of Andrew McCarthy a little bit, like a poor man's Andrew McCarthy.
He's like an Andrew McCarthy wax figure that got melted in a car.
A little bit. We're just like Andrew McCarthy was like a Teen Beat guy, but you look at him now. You look at him, you're like, really? You were a Teen Beat guy? You don't seem like
Andrew McCarthy. You're still saying Andrew or the other guy?
I'm still saying Andrew McCarthy too. I mean, it's even worse that he looks like a melted Andrew McCarthy. But even Andrew McCarthy back then, I thought, he's not, compared to the other 80s guys, not that great.
I think he's kind of cute. Like,
you think he's kind of cute?
What's he in? Pretty in Pink, right?
Yeah, he was in Pretty in Pink.
He's very cute in that, and I think he's cute in Weekend at Bernie's, right?
he's got like a guy next door kind of vibe about him, you know.
I mean, he's very annoying in Weekend at Bernie's.
he's very over the top in Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to be in a movie about pretending a guy isn't dead, you don't really want to go for like Marlon Brando levels of.
Yeah, you want to find the subtlety in trying to make a dead guy a puppet. That's what we're saying. But Roger comes over, and Steven and Lisa are in the room. Alex is really. This is where like it's the whole competitiveness of Alex. Like he's really wanting this to happen.
Yeah,
so he's super excited.
This is the beginning of the end of this episode, where at this point, the episode just sort of trails off and doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, it just kind of gets stuck in a loop, because this is all that's left for them to do, is just have Alex really want this to happen and it not happen.
Right.
That's all you got.
And so they sit down, and Alex is sitting between them, wedged on the couch, and he's sort of like talking and doing a bunch of shtick to Mom and Dad and between them, and it's very uncomfortable. And then they get up to leave and go on their date, and Alex is like, "Oh yeah, I'm going with you." And then he comes back inside and he's like, they said I can't go," or whatever.
Yeah, and they already try to establish that this isn't going to work out between them, because they're like, "Oh, and then I thought maybe you guys could go see that new James Bond movie." And he was like, "Oh yeah, I saw it. I hated it." And Mallory's like, "Oh really? I loved it."
I mean, it's not good writing in this sense. It's like, if you're gonna have it be that Alex messes this up for Mallory, instead of everyone not liking each other, have Mallory and Roger, kind of like each other, and they start to build a romance and stuff like that. But it's Alex that keeps sabotaging it, because they're not doing it the right way or the way that he wants them to, and then it eventually breaks them up.
That would be brilliant.
But when everybody doesn't like each other on screen, it makes everything very boring.
Yeah, there's nothing, because there's no arc for Mallory and Roger to do. It's gone, and it's just Alex just heightening of wanting it to happen, where we're already kind of as an audience like, okay, this isn't going to happen. It's okay.
Right.
What's the next thing? And there is no next thing.
Yeah. And I mean, this is where the commercial break is, but before that happens, I think we should just quickly, because I don't know when it happened, I've lost track, but like the B-plot of Steven becoming obsessed with computer games.
Right. So there's a moment where Jennifer is playing a baseball game on the computer. And ironically, Steven is in the background with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
And which I thought was really strange. Like, are they about to go play actual baseball, or is he just wanting them to instead of playing the video game? But
it's like the producers of the show wanted to remind everybody that Steven likes baseball.
Right. And he's old-fashioned. He wants to play the real baseball. They're playing the video baseball.
Yeah, it's a very small microcosm of the episode with Guitar Hero on South Park.
Yes, exactly.
Where Stan's dad is like, "Hey, you guys want to learn how to play the real guitar?"
It plays Kansas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Jennifer kind of shows him, playing, and then of course Steven gets sucked in to playing the baseball game.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they do a shot of the game itself, and the computer graphics are so much better than whatever that computer's graphics would have been.
Yes, I thought so too.
Like, it looks like Nintendo. It looks like 8-bit graphics, right?
Yeah, it looks totally like the first Nintendo.
Yeah, as opposed to what would have been probably like a a white and black screen or a green screen that you would have, like almost like an old Game Boy type thing.
Right. It would be like the classic green outline and everything. That looked like RBI baseball is what it looked like by Nintendo.
I didn't recognize what it actually was, but
yeah, and so and Steven gets obsessed with it now because he thinks that the pitcher was high and inside with one of the throws. So now he really wants to play.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's take a quick break, and then we'll see the rest of this episode go high and crappy. We'll be right back. And we're back. So are we at the restaurant at this point?
Not yet. Mallory comes back from her date with Roger, the first date with Roger, and basically tells Alex, hey, Roger's nice and everything, but not for me. I don't think I'm going to see him again. And this is when Alex kind of begs, hey, give it one more shot. Give him one more chance. He's perfect for you on paper. You really should give him another shot. And then that's when we have the double date at the restaurant.
And again, I have to bring up, this was made in the same time as The Real Thing with Ellen. And so all of a sudden, Alex has a different girlfriend.
So even in the same season, they're mucking it up.
Yeah, that's very weird. So I don't know why that would have been.
I wonder if like the writer of this script had like some kind of lawsuit against Gary David Goldberg, like
forcing them to show this on TV.
Yeah, like you promised this episode would air. I have a contract.
Yeah,
you have to air it. Yeah.
Did you recognize the woman that was playing his girlfriend?
I did not.
Yeah, me neither.
If Corey were here, he would know.
Yeah, the club that they're at is sort of a restaurant club, and there's you see Madonna, a poster of Madonna in the background.
Right. You have like
what other bands.
I missed some of the bands, but I was drawn to like the little neon lasers in the back.
Yes.
That was that was very 80s for me.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And so
yeah,
they're talking, and Alex is like ignoring his girlfriend the whole time, and she's not even talking.
Right.
And he's trying to, get Roger and Mallory to have a good time, and he gets them up to go dancing, and a slow song starts up that I feel like it sounded like Careless Whisper, the Wham song.
Yep, that's exactly what it sounded like.
And I thought maybe they played Wham in the original broadcast, but then for the DVD they had to get some, they couldn't get the rights.
Right. It's very close to Careless Whisper. Like they were like a couple notes away from being Careless Whisper.
Yeah. And so he's like, hey, you guys should get up and dance. And everyone's slow dancing, and Mallory and Roger get up, and they don't even touch.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you don't like someone, during a slow dance, to not touch is the weirdest thing.
Just dance. It's worse if you don't touch. Just dance. If you don't like him, get the song over with, and then you're fine. Just dance.
And so Alex is like, well, this is not going to fucking stand. He runs over and asks if he can cut in.
To dance with his sister.
And we've had this happen more than once.
Yes. It's strange. It's odd. At this point.
The less said, the better.
Yes. We're not going to go any further. Yeah. So Alex is slow dancing with his sister and basically saying, why aren't you dancing with Roger? He's perfect for you. You're not, come on, dance with him and everything. And Mallory's just still insistent, hey, this isn't working out. And
so he turns around and he's like, you come here he's dancing with my girlfriend.
Oh, no. Which I like that twist.
He runs over and he says, can I cut in? And then he grabs Roger.
Sure.
And they start dancing.
And everyone, and again, we've talked about how Family Ties handles gay relationships. Everyone's staring at them. That's the 80s in general, sadly.
That honestly was the most realistic thing about this whole episode, was how all of the extras responded to two men dancing.
Yeah.
They were as homophobic as you would expect in a club in 1987.
That's true. That's very true.
Like, as soon as two guys start touching, everyone in the club would just be laser boom focused.
Right. And so, Alex and Roger start fighting. he's like, Alex, maybe it just shouldn't happen. I think his girlfriend's name was Cindy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm dancing with Cindy. I like Cindy. And like Roger not even even acknowledging that it's Alex's date.
Yeah.
And then they get in a fight. So everyone is pissed off at Alex by the end of this scene.
As well they should be.
Mhm.
This episode in Alex, I feel like it's early enough that we wouldn't have talked about him being a sociopath, but this is a great example of our constantly reappraising of his sociopathy.
Yeah, and his narcissism too. Just like he has to have this work out because it's a reflection of him.
Yeah, which leads us back to the final scene. Oh, and before that, in the kitchen, you have Steven and Elise playing computer games.
And Jennifer comes in and says, well, guys, I have to take this back because, I rented it. I got to return it. And Steven is really bummed because he got sucked into it and loves it. And so that's when he just, Elise suggests, maybe it wouldn't be beneficial for Jennifer if you bought a computer. Yes, I have to think about Jennifer's needs. And he runs off to go tell Jennifer.
Yeah.
So the Keatons are going to get a computer, which I don't think we've seen in their house.
No, there was one episode, I think this season, that we saw a computer in their house and then never saw it again.
Paul, do you think they threw this episode in there because of the computer plot line? Like, was something? I'm wondering if like something big was happening with Apple or something like that made them want to throw this episode in.
I mean, that's as good a reason as any.
Like, I'm wondering if like that Ridley Scott commercial that Apple did aired, and it was like the big, the talk of everything, and Family Ties was like, hey, we have an episode that talks about computers in the home. Let's show it.
Yeah, I mean, that could be. But I mean, ultimately, this season is so fucking long.
And it's so fucking horrible.
The fact that like this is episode 27 or 28, and we have another two-parter coming up after this.
Oh God!
I feel like that the popularity on NBC, they wanted as many episodes as they could, and it's an exhausting thing to do to work on a TV show. So I'm guessing they're just throwing everything, including the kitchen sink, on the air to just fill up a season.
Yeah, they're like, we've split as many episodes as we possibly could into two-parters. We still need more.
And this is the second show they re-aired.
Yeah.
Where I think there was another old episode that we had this season that was repurposed.
Yeah, I think so too. And that, like, what would have? I guess they didn't even think about doing a rerun. Like, what would have been the harm in just rerunning one of the episodes from the season for that week?
Yeah, I mean, you know what, they might have, and we just weren't looking at the dates closely enough. But yeah, I mean, that's a good point.
Yeah. And so we close with a scene in the kitchen. It's one of the classic, learning a lesson scene and realization scene. And it's basically Mallory tells Alice, like, you like things on paper. Like you see a relationship on paper and you feel that works, but relationships have to be spontaneous and unexpected.
Which is all of what the lesson at the end of The Real Thing is. So it's very interesting that, I mean, I think this could be the reason that they didn't want to use this episode back then.
Oh yeah, totally. Absolutely.
But it's very odd, and it's so lazy because, like, Alex is trying to make his argument of why he did what he did, and they actually wrote a line of him being like, what am I trying to say here? And then Mallory takes it over and gives Alex's argument to him.
Right.
It's almost like they were like, we need a new way of doing this scene. What if the other character makes all of the one character's arguments for them?
Right. Let's just have it clearly stated, and even acknowledging it with Alex going, are you understanding this, Mallory?
Yeah. And so, that's it. It's a really bad message as far as like, there was a good episode in here, but this one's just really weird.
Yeah, it's strange because of when it aired. It's strange in how they construct everything. I think the B plot could have even been better. Like, not as the main plot, but I think that was a good, strong B plot if you keep progressing it a little bit more.
It really was. The B plot almost makes this episode enjoyable.
Yeah, the B plot was fun. Like, we saw what was coming, but it was fun, and it's kind of for in the pocket for Michael Gross, like as he gets sucked and becomes obsessed with something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's it.
Yeah, there's not a lot to it.
Yeah. Just like Kokomo, Paul.
Yeah, it feels good. No, Kokomo feels good while you're listening to it. And then if you look at it for any amount of time, you're like, ugh.
Yeah, I think that's what I did. Like, it came on the radio or something, and I was like, oh, yeah, Kokomo. And then the lyrics started hitting me stronger than the melody.
Mm-hmm.
And the lyrics are just so obnoxious and annoying.
I'm trying to think of what Beach Boys song this episode is like.
Oh.
Here, if you do the closing credits, I'll come up with something.
Okay, I'll go do the closing credits, and then Paul will be thinking about.
Yeah, I'm thinking the whole time.
I like this system. Let's rate each Family Ties episode as a Beach Boys song.
It's really good. I think this could work.
Okay. Well, that's the show, guys. For questions and comments, be sure to write us at qualitytimewithfamilyties@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter. I'm at Follow Jones.
I'm at Paul Packler.
And Corey is at CorePep. You can also check out for updates on our Twitter feed at QTWFT. And also be sure to like our Facebook page. We like to thank our host and producer, Barbara Dillon at Fanbase Press. Fanbase Press is an online conglomerate of geek media providing its daily readers and with insights into the geek pop culture spectrum. Check out everything that they do. We also like to thank Perry Adams, who beautifully performs the theme song Without Us. Check out all of Perry's music at perryadams.com. We like to thank Brian Dillon, Fanbase Press's president and the editor of our show. And lastly, Sean Foster, Fanbase Press's graphic designer, who designed our logo. Paul, what do you got?
It is track 4 from the album Shut Down Volume 2. It is a spoken word piece by Mike Love and Brian Wilson called Cassius Love versus Sonny Wilson. I'm not going to explain it any further, but just go listen to that on YouTube.
Wow.
Do you know what I'm talking about, Scott?
I've heard it, yeah.
What do you think? You agree or disagree?
I agree. Because it's just strange, odd, but has an old familiar flavor to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's us, guys. See you next week.
Bye.